Extra starts now.
I can always tell when it starts snowing here at the station. I can't find Lauren Linehan. A few moments ago, I was like, what happened to Lauren?
Oh, yeah. Lauren went MIA. When someone tells me they're seeing some flurries outside, you know, being from South Georgia and you being from Tuscaloosa, we get real excited when that happens. Granted, it was not much. I was less than impressed. I've seen much more impressive here, but hey, the winter's not over yet, Wes.
Well, it just shows you the incredible power of this system. I mean, last night we had the wind, the rain, the tornadoes this morning. Folks woke up around Panama City to all those tornadoes happening in that area. There was a severe component, and now we're getting a little bit of frozen precipitation across our area. Let's go first off to what's next. And let me just show you, Friday, we do have another first alert weather day. I know it was a long night last night, very windy, storms, heavy rain. We had over 5 inches of rain for parts of the area. So we're watching this setup on Friday. A greater concern this go around that we could see a few severe storms, that isolated tornado threat. While it was south of us last night, it was all about wind and rain last night. This go around, it's more about the possibility of some damaging wind gusts and isolated tornadoes. And check out after that what we got to watch out for next week. I want to show you something here. These are forecast wind chills going into early next week, and this is showing next Tuesday morning. Want to stop it right here. Forecast feels like temperatures. Look at that, -9 showing up there across parts of Coleman County and Huntsville. Now, it probably won't be that cold, but this is just telling us that the core of some of this Arctic air that's going to be spilling across the country, we're going to get a little taste of that early next week. And I would certainly plan for the possibility of some of the coldest air, certainly the coldest air this year so far. We're going to be feeling that there, it looks like next week. Possibility of our first real hard freeze, and you can see the forecast of low temperatures down the road as we go into next week, down into the teens. Now, big question mark is as that frigid air moves in, there's going to be a front that could kick off some precipitation on Monday. Will the air be cold enough, rapid fall in temperatures behind that front to where we could see some frozen precipitation? I think we could see maybe a little bit of freezing rain or sleet perhaps in areas to the north. So that's what we're going to be watching again. That's next week. Right now, as we noted, we had a little bit of a light wintry mix out there tonight. It's still windy. These are current wind speeds. And I mean, it just really hasn't totally let up since yesterday. I mean, it was windy yesterday, last night, and still windy out there tonight, but it looks like that breeze is going to back off past midnight. But there's some precipitation. You see that drifting through the area, and it's light. But I'm getting reports, our friends around Bluntsville, I just saw a report there on my social media feed of some sleet mixing in. But you may encounter a few snow showers tonight, but temperatures are well above freezing. So again, no problems there with any residual moisture that we have as that moves on to the east. So no travel issues expected, but you might have to flip on the windshield wipers once or twice there driving to the north and the east this evening. Could be some light accumulations if we did see any accumulations, the highest peaks there in areas back off to the north and east. But that is one system that we're going to be tracking. And again, we have a lot on the way with respect to Friday. We need to be weather alert for that possibility of strong to severe storms. But I'll be back with another radar check. Looks like maybe some flurries. You see that right there starting to show up across parts of Marion County again. So a lot that we're going to be watching for this evening. I'll be back with a full 7-day forecast. Lauren?
Storms yesterday brought multiple reports of damage across the state, including right here in central Alabama. Our Tristan Rupert joins us now with a closer look at some of the damage. Tristan.
Lauren, the wind was really the story of last night. It tore down trees, branches, and power lines. Our crews captured some really compelling video of the damage throughout the last 24 hours. That includes in Center Point, where a tree actually came to rest on top of a home, branches undoubtedly inside that home. So a really difficult day for one Center Point family. And again, all rain and debris really made it difficult for some of the storm drains in our area to drain properly. We captured some video of really just down near the Homewood border, and you can tell that's an area that we typically see some problems, but not really a great time to be on the roads driving, not only because of drainage issues, but also due to power outage issues. We saw a few traffic lights that did not have any electricity. Alabama Power crews out today still working all across the state to get lights back on for thousands of people.
At its peak, we had about 118,000 customers who were out of power between late yesterday and early this morning. By early this morning, we had that number was down to 42,000. So about 76,000 customers had their power restored overnight.
As you can tell, the wind's still blowing here. It's pretty evident. I'm pretty cold. Like Wes said, that the wind's still a factor for at least probably till midnight tonight. And as crews still work to return everyone to, I guess, power, you could say, we still have about 13,000 customers without power in our state, just over 650 current outages. For a full look at where and perhaps who's struggling with power issues, you can go to the Alabama Power Outage Map. A link can be found in my web story for my work today. Reporting in Birmingham, Tristan Rupert, WBRC, Fox 6 News on your side.
The city of Millbrook saw some flooding as well. This video is from the downtown area. Parking lots and other areas along Main Street were underwater, including most of Village Green Park. And check out this new drone footage from our sister station in Montgomery, WSFA. You can see some of the major flooding that happened in the Prattville area overnight. This is right off of Highway 31. No one was hurt, thankfully, but first responders, they had to rescue 13 people, 6 animals from their homes last night. We had over 5 inches of rain, according to some of our weather watchers there, Lauren, over parts of Chilton County last night.
And in the Florida Panhandle, cleanup is underway after multiple tornadoes tore through the area this morning. The National Weather Service confirming that an EF2 tornado touched down in Walton County. Take a look at this video from our sister station in Mobile showing the damage in Grand Lagoon. National Weather Service also confirming a dangerous tornado hitting near the city of Marianna, which is about an hour north of Panama City Beach. And according to data from the Storm Prediction Center, at least 5 tornadoes were reporting this morning, and this is in the same areas that were hit by Hurricane Michael over 5 years ago. In South Alabama, major roads were closed this morning due to the storms, including the Bankhead Tunnel, which was flooded. US 90 in Spanish Fort also closed because of flooding. We got this video in from Dauphin Island. We're told coastal flooding started to become an issue yesterday. So after all this rain, first responders are on standby, ready for any more emergencies that could develop.
Only going to get worse. I mean, the worst of this is supposed to come in, before sunrise. So we're just getting on the start of it at this point, and we're already having saltwater flooding, so we already know what's going to happen.
The I-10 bridge over Escambia Bay is now also reopened after being closed this morning. In 30 seconds, we continue to talk about the possibility of winter weather at the beginning of next week and take you across the country for more winter weather woes. We'll be right back. Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. Meteorologist Lauren Linehan here. First Alert AccuTrack is showing some very light precipitation that is falling and mainly moving east and north of I-20. So you can see areas like Springville, Center Point. Could be seeing a couple of sprinkles here shortly in northern Jefferson and up towards Blount County, possibly even southern Coleman County here. But as we look at the next 60 minutes, this little batch is going to be pushing eastward across I-59, areas like Raglan, Gadsden, up towards the Coosa River. Let us know if you see any wintry precip falling in your area. This is going to be very light. We're talking maybe some light snow flurries or the possibility of a few sleet pellets mixed in with some very light rain. But as Wes was mentioning, got to watch in northwest Alabama too. We'll be keeping an eye on it here on Weather Extra.
Hey, Lauren, this is just in from Bob and Addison in northern Winston County. You can see those flurries coming down there in the Addison area, but this is what we're dealing with there. You can see it's very light precipitation, if you can even see it there on the monitor, but that was shared on my Twitter feed. I'm seeing a lot of reports of some sleet, snow grain type of wintry precipitation mixing in out there for tonight. But with the possibility of even more winter weather and the possibility of an even more significant system early next week in Arctic air, meteorologist Matt Daniel joins us now to talk about some of the difficulties behind winter weather forecasting, specifically here in Alabama, and the steps it takes to make it as accurate as possible.
Well, all eyes on the forecast going into next week, but we don't want to jump the gun too quick. We want to kind of have several days to analyze. Wintry weather is probably the most complicated forecasting you can do as a meteorologist, and we are pretty certain there will be a lot of Arctic air that's going to be spilling down across the central portions of the United States, making its way into the southeast. But the question is, when is it going to arrive? How cold is it going to get? And will there be any precipitation involved with it? And so it's all about figuring out what's going to happen. So these are the steps we take as meteorologists when it comes to winter weather forecasting. Now, when you're 6 to 8 days out, it's all about paying attention. In fact, that's where we're at right now. There is a chance for some wintry weather Monday and a Tuesday, but this is just the time where we observe the weather patterns for the potential storms. So we're looking at the long-range weather models. We still don't have those high-resolution models that usually come out within 24 to 48 hours. So, exact forecasting not happening at this point. Now, within 4 to 5 days, now we're starting to look for consistency between the weather models. Is the confidence increasing for a winter storm, or is it decreasing? Does this even make sense? When you live in the southeast, you know what's favorable for winter weather and what's not, what to look for. So we have to take all that into account when it comes to predicting the forecast and winter weather. And then within 2 to 3 days, our certainty starts to go up. If we see signs that winter storm is likely, we got to get ready for it. So that means within 2 to 3 days, that confidence increases for figuring out, is it going to be rain? Is it just going to be sleet? Freezing rain, snow? How is that going to impact you at home if you're traveling to work or school? It's going to give us a better idea on the timing. Is it going to be overnight or in the afternoon, and where at and how much? And then by the time we get within 24 hours, that's when we have to call to action and identify as much specific information as possible. So exactly the timing of when it's going to happen, where exactly is it going to happen, and what are those impacts? Will it all just be ice? Will it just be snow? Or will it just be a cold rain? You have to remember, when it comes to winter weather forecasting, we have to look at temperatures at many profiles, not only up in the atmosphere, but also at the surface. Because if it's just really cold aloft and at the surface, it's all snow. If it's really warm aloft, it could fall as snow and melt into sleet or perhaps into freezing rain as it hits a shallow surface of cold air. So a lot goes into winter weather forecasting. Be careful on the information you see on social media. Some people will use it as a clickbait just so you can share it, saying that you're going to get a lot of snow. That's not necessarily the case, but we're with you on your side, tracking this, giving you that first alert, and of course we'll have a better idea of what could happen next week as we go into the weekend.
And while we prepare for the possibility of winter weather here, many across the country are already experiencing blizzard conditions. Heavy snow and sleet cover the roads in Chicago as a massive snowstorm moves across the Midwest, with some cities seeing more than a half a foot of snow by earlier this afternoon. This comes after states from Missouri to Wisconsin saw the heaviest of the snow and the worst of travel conditions. As the storm's low pressure center peaks in intensity, it has city officials asking communities to stay home. And as the system continues to move from the plains to the Midwest, the National Weather Service says that up to 2 inches of snow could fall per hour through today. And back here at home, as we prepare for an Arctic blast next week, we're on your side with some important reminders to help keep you safe. When storms knock out your power, that can include your heat, of course. You may turn to different types of heating devices to stay warm. Experts say it's important you use the right type of heater indoors. That means no gas or propane operated heating devices inside your home.
We don't want to run any engine operated equipment or gas or propane powered heating devices indoors because of the risk of carbon monoxide.
Even if you're just using a space heater, make sure it's sitting away from anything flammable. That includes curtains and anything covered in fabric. And you should plug it directly into a wall outlet, not an extension cord, to reduce the risk of fire. You also shouldn't run space heaters while you're sleeping. Still ahead, we have declared a first alert weather day for Friday for that threat for severe storms in central Alabama. We're on your side with what you can expect. We'll be right back.
And welcome back into Weather Extra. Chief Meteorologist Wes White. You can see we have a few flurries flying around here on the camera at Adair Tire in Gardendale. Some light wintry precipitation. What a change from yesterday. And we had all the wind and the rain out there last night. Temperatures at 41 degrees, so we're well above freezing. Live look from Coleman where it's 37, so it's more like a flurry or a flizzard out there for us tonight. That's pretty much all we're seeing. Actually had looked like a little bit of sleet or snow grains that were showing up. Looks like we might have lost the feed there from Appalachian School. I tell you what, this camera's done a great job hanging on here because, I mean, we had winds gusting upwards of 50 miles per hour from that feed there throughout the overnight. But there's still some precipitation on the radar. This is very, very light stuff. So when you look at the base scan, you're not seeing a lot of wet weather, but you can see right in here where we have that little area of light showers, maybe a few snow showers trying to mix in. That's going to track on to the east, but as we go later into the night, the longer this is around, the greater chance that this could mix with even more snow flurries or a few snow showers. I'm not seeing any accumulation, especially with temperatures like this. Maybe a light dusting some of the tallest peaks there in areas to the north and east, but no major issues out of this. The model data, you can see, is showing that light precip wrapping up by midnight, and then after midnight, that's when the temperatures are going to drop below freezing. So we'll get this well out of here before temperatures drop into the freezing range. Next big thing, though, we got to talk about is Friday. The good news, we have a couple of nice days coming up here to enjoy, clean up after this blustery setup that we've had. You can see Friday, though, the way I'm seeing it right now, it looks like we're going to probably end up with what we call a sort of a quasi-linear line of storms that can make its way across the state. And sometimes with a setup like that, you can have embedded tornadoes. So we need to watch for a risk for isolated tornadoes, some strong winds as that makes its way across the state there on Friday. Looks like by late morning and continuing into the afternoon, 2 to 3 o'clock. Notice this model showing by 3 o'clock most of this over into Georgia. So this is going to move through fairly quickly. It's going to be a daytime impact. I'm thinking right now that window 10 a.m. to 5, but that could change. We're still a few days out, so check in for updates. Weekend looks dry, a lot colder. As you can see, highs in the 40s, lows down there around freezing, and then it gets even colder. Next week, Monday and Tuesday, we're seeing increasing evidence, more signals that we're going to see Arctic air across the country. We know that's going to happen, but how far south does it go? It looks like we could get a taste of those lows in the teens, single-digit wind chills, and certainly the chance for our first hard freeze of the year. That is going to be possible next week. Will we see any wintry precipitation? Lauren, you know, there's a chance that we could see some showers there on Monday, but one of the big questions, would it be freezing rain or would it be snow if we did see some frozen precipitation?
Yeah, and that's kind of what Matt was alluding to.
Yeah.
When we are doing winter weather forecasting, we are having to look at not just what is going on here at the surface, but the temperature differences in the entire profile of the atmosphere at the mid levels, at the upper levels, and where there is moisture. There's a lot that goes into it. That's why it's a little bit more complicated than, say, a severe weather or a hurricane event. But let's look at that first alert weather calendar here. And I do want to highlight for you, actually, let me pull it up here just a second. I want to pull up those areas that we do have highlighted for the possibility of giving you a first alert for some active weather. So of course we have that first alert weather day on Friday, but as we look ahead towards the end of MLK weekend, that's when Wes was saying, hey, we need to watch if there's going to be any moisture around, if we could see a wintry mix, because there's some very cold air coming in, and we have a first alert for bitter cold next Tuesday. We're talking morning lows in the teens, and then as we look ahead beyond the 7-day, the weekend of January 20th through 21st, we've also been seeing the possibility of maybe some more unsettled weather again, possibly some rain in the forecast, if not that Saturday, the following Monday and Tuesday, and that would be on the 22nd and 23rd. But when we look at that 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, this is looking at January 15th through 19th. You can see the Climate Prediction Center is highlighting our exact thoughts that we are going to be seeing well below average temperatures. So quite a potent Arctic outbreak. You just have to see if there would be any moisture around to support some wintry precipitation, or would that moisture be gone by the time the cold air gets here. So this is looking at potential low temperatures January 15th through 24th. And we can see going into next week the possibility of very cold temperatures next Tuesday through Friday. Now, this is just one model output, so it may not end up being in the teens for 4 days straight in the morning, but certainly seeing those signals, pattern recognition, that it's going to be pretty cold before we see things turning a little bit more milder as we get into the following week of January. And then looking at those forecast highs, looking pretty cold for next week once we get past that Arctic blast and it settles in for several days, and then possibly seeing a little bit of a warm up, temperatures more seasonable that following weekend. But as we look at that potential for rainfall, you can see across parts of the southeast, especially in our southeast counties, that possibility January 15th through 19th of some above average precipitation, the rest of us near average. So you can just see the jet stream looks pretty potent here as we get into next Wednesday. You've got this dip in the jet stream that's going to be keeping that cold air locked in over central Alabama. And then we begin to see the jet stream weaken a little bit, and then the possibility of a more active pattern with a system coming in Saturday the 20th that could potentially bring us some rain, and possibly again that following Monday and Tuesday. So still looks like El Nino is going to be very active here as we get into the month of January. But we'll take a final look at Weather Extra after the break.
Well, we actually had a little bit of light wintry precipitation, Lauren, here on the mountain.
Yeah, it was very faint. When I was outside, if you blinked, you missed it. I've certainly seen more impressive, but it's always an issue, as Matt was saying, if there's still going to be enough moisture when that cold air is sneaking its way in.
Yeah, you saw in that picture there just some little tiny sleet pellets, kind of snow grains, and that's what we're seeing with some of this leftover moisture tonight. This is going to move out by midnight, and then, of course, tomorrow, some calmer weather. Watching Friday, another first alert weather day. We'll have those updates at 9.
And then MLK Day, too. See you tonight.